Here we are entering the breeding barn. I'm just going to do a short video showing what's going on in here right now. It's not completely final, but this is pretty much kind of how it's going to be for a while. As you enter the barn, the first thing you see is the first bank of tanks, which I do currently have running at least 12 tanks on this system. I do have some 20-gallon tanks as I walk around here. These are some 20-gallon high tanks that I've had since I've started doing breeding. I'm going to get those cleaned up and add them to this system, so we'll have a total of 19 tanks. On the other side of this, behind with the big rack behind are the 20-gallon long tanks that I went and got with Tal down in Detroit from an old fish store that was 60 years old or so. Walking to the end of this system, what you'll see here right now is kind of a real basic sump. All I've got in here is an ATI 3000 skimmer, some live rock, a heater, and I'm using a Quiet One pump right now. In the long term, I'm going to change this out to a reflow dart, and I'm going to hook this all up together. I have a different Rubbermaid tub I'm going to use as a sump, and then I'll do some more, maybe some bio balls, K1, things like that. Do a little bit better with the filtration than this currently has in it right now. Also over here is the air conditioning unit. That right now is not really running. It doesn't need to be. I've been keeping track of the temperature, the water temperature, and the room temperature. The highest the room temperature has really gotten in here on a 100-degree day was about 90 degrees. The water temperature was about 84, so it's tempting to turn the air on, but I kind of let it go, figuring that at night it'll cool down a little bit. As we walk to the second set of tanks, this is going to be set up later on. Once I get going, get some more brood stock and have some fish to grow out in here. This is going to be 29 gallons and 40 breeders primarily. The top row here are the 29 gallons. If I scan across, this is about 104 inches long. I can fit 8 tanks on the top, and I'm guessing that I should be able to fit about 5 40-gallon breeders. I'm not sure. I do have one design flaw. If you look back in that corner, you can see a GFCI outlet, and that actually controls everything that's kind of running right now. That was the original power to the barn. Looking right here is the box that I had put in about 2 months ago. You open it up, there are some 3 GFCI breakers. I've got about 40 amps total coming out here. I would like to have a little more, but it would really be expensive and kind of really tear up a lot of things out here if I were to go higher at this point. So if you walk down this row, you can see the fronts. This is the front side of the 20-gallon breeder tanks, or the 20-gallon long tanks. The first tank up here on the top, we've got it's a black Saddleback. It was sold to me as a Seabay Clown. I really don't think it is. I think it's more of a black Saddleback. And then there is one lone Bangai. One thing I do want to do in this system is work with a couple pairs of Bangai, see if I can get those going. The next tank down here, there's a tomato Compair. He's been kind of unhappy since I moved him in here. He was in a 29 system. He probably does need to get moved to something a little bigger. Or she, excuse me. Down here, I do have a trio of Damsels, of the blue velvet Damsels. They're not out right now. They kind of spend a lot of time in each one of them in their little PVC tubes, and they come out when it's feeding time. The top tank next here is empty. There really isn't much going on here right now. Once I get another pair in here, I either find a black Saddleback or a Bangai. I'll move one of those in here. Next tank down is a spawning pair that I had shipped to me from Florida of black Oscillators. I haven't gotten them going yet. I may need to work on my tiles, maybe put pots back in here, but that's kind of what I have for the tile setup for all these guys. Going down to the next row is my Dadi Bat, or my Sunrise Dadi Bats. The male seems to be out. The female kind of hangs out in the tube quite a bit. But if you see now when I'm filming him, he's ducking into the tubes too. These were also a spawning pair. I have to do some more work getting those guys going. Heading to the top of the next row, we've got just a normal orange Ocellaris pair. One of these I got from Tal, the other one I've had for a while. So, you know, if you can see, not so much now when I first got them, because Tal is feeding the TDO to the male. He's a lot more orange than the other one. It was more stark before. I'm not really giving him the TDO as much, so he's probably lightened up a little bit. But that's really all for these guys. This is, you know, I have one single black Ocellaris in this tank. I had two in here. That was really the only loss I had from the move from my basement out here. Next pair of fish down here is a pair of Snowflake Solaris. I've had these guys probably about 6 months or so. You know, they're doing fine. I still haven't gotten anything out of them, but I've just moved them. They've been out here probably about 3 weeks now. And then the final row of tanks. This is a recently acquired pair of perks. I got these guys from a guy who was moving out of state. So he said they were spawning for him in a pot. So this is the only tank that has a pot in it, since this is what these guys were used to. So like I said, we'll see with some feeding and stuff if we can get these guys going. Heading down to the bottom, this is the only pair that survived me moving from St. Clair Shores up here, which is about, for those of you not from the state of Michigan, it's about 40 minutes north. I basically had one day to move it. This is my Fire Compair. I've had these guys at least a couple years, if not more. I've never gotten them to spawn, but like I said, they've been moved quite a bit. I had a couple moves in my original house and the 2 moves here, so that's probably why they're not going. The final pair that I have in here is a pair of Tracy's Damsels. I've gotten these guys from Florida on the same shipment that I got the black Oscillaris pair and the Sunrise Dadi Bats from. I got them from the same guy. Just working on getting these guys going as well. You know, they're doing fine, but they're just not getting. I'm not getting any spawns yet. So turning our attention back to the second system I went through earlier. I still have some empty space here. I have a bunch of 29s upstairs. I've just not taken them downstairs yet. And then this right here was the sump of my old breeding system. Now it's not set up right now, but when I get this system going, I'm gonna put a reflow dart on this one as well and get this, get this system going as well. Now heading to the back. Actually, before we get to the back, this is kind of right now my cheap temperature gauge. Right now it's showing about 82 degrees. And actually does have some humidity, it's a humidistat if you want to call it that. It's about 60% humidity right now. It's kind of still in the normal range. I've not had to really worry about humidity too badly in here. The one thing I am going to do about humidity is I do have a fan up here. It's not hooked up yet. When I get going with the rest of the electrical I've got to do in here, I will hook that up. The last thing I really want to show you is this is going to be kind of the grow out, the larval area. The one thing I've always lacked in all my fish rooms is some counter space. So I do want to, cover up the old 180 gallon stand that's in the back, and then just basically put some, use this as counter space to work with larval, put some black ground tubs in here, etc. And then here's the door that leads to the upstairs. The upstairs is just storage. It's really kind of messy right now. I really don't want to show anyone, it's not worth seeing right now. If I ever do run out of room down here, I always can expand up there if I want to. So that's the tour of the fish room. Hope you enjoyed it. It's a little bit long looking at the timer on the camera. It's about 8 minutes and 53 seconds now. So don't want to take up too much of your time, but I did want to share with what's going on down here. Thanks a lot.